It is a wonderful day here in southern Colorado, and I'd like to be out and about doing other things, but it's also important for me to be centered here. It's important for all of us to be able to connect with the elements of nature and feel that healing wherever we are, whether we're in a urban environment or whether we're in a rural environment. And it's definitely not easy, and it's going to get more challenging. And so I look at the future of my YouTube channel and where my real gifts are, even if it's not always what entertains people the most. Okay, I want to keep things in the context of like the nutritional food chart. What's healthy, what's not healthy. And we can all fall into negative habits in this world, right? We're bringing in the wrong energies. I will say this, there is a reason why some of us early on in life may have a affinity for meditation, spiritual belief systems, specific types of meditations, specific types of teachings and disciplines. We may be magnetically drawn for whatever reason to certain types of teachings and certain types of information. And even, for example, if you're an athlete and you may not have been very spiritual on a specific area, to give an example, maybe you tapped into the 4 directions or the 8 directions for a specific reason. Now I'm going to tell you there's a reason why NATO has that symbol. And that symbol can be seen in nature. You even look at the hexagram in Taoism. So there's a lot of Eastern thought in what I'm getting at. And this is something that people have forgotten. So when we look at the 4 corners and the medicine wheel, I see a strong parallel between Native American spirituality and Chinese medicine, and some similarities with Northern Europe. And I did a video on the Celtic tradition, and I showed the cross with the circle in the middle. And I heard a video from someone that was discussing Norse spirituality, and so I think with some of those things, there's a light side and a dark side. There is the direction that some people take it, but the idea of being connected, the thunderbolt symbolism, its connection to the sun. Just because there are some groups that have chosen to use these things, they've done it because they believe it brings them good luck, whether they're cognitive of that or not. But that's the truth. That's the truth. And so these ancient symbols of the sun and the basic 4 directions is ancient spirituality that has existed in more than one society. And a lot of this also goes back to ancient India. There's something else that I'm going to get into on VHX later on in the month. Pay attention to the post that I'll be doing later on in the month and next month when there's a new video on VHX. And in that video, I'll get into some additional information, and it's practical, responsible, and more to be cautious with sharing certain specific information, especially whenever it's in regards to spiritual protection. It makes no sense whatsoever to get that specific on platforms that are easily compromised. And there's also the sacred space also in doing things outside of places in which there's a lot of interference. So looking at this almost shamanistically, I see YouTube as a vehicle that's heavily contaminated with sabotage energy behind the scenes that will F with some of us as content creators for what it is that we're doing. They will F with some of us in ways that they don't F with others that are actually doing harmful things to innocent people. We see the real YouTube. We see the real lower nature of it, how it almost connects us to a portal of hell. And so on that note, there are certain things of a higher order and nature that will be elsewhere. I did get an email from Larry, who has a YouTube channel, Search for the Truth. Got your email, and he's linking to a video, an apocalyptic video. I forget the title exactly, and I can't read my computer screen from from here. I'm a great distance away. Here we have another cartoon, and we wonder whether it's predictive programming or maybe visions. It could be visions from the collective assortment of animators that showed a number of things ranging from the towers to Notre Dame or Dame. And that, by the way, is being used also, I guess, as a wedge to maintain some sort of tension with Muslims. This is straight from hell, this programming that we're seeing on cue in this world with the current world events. And people seeking to take each event as it goes down and use it as gasoline for the Civil War paradigm. It becomes painful watching a barrage at times of these types of videos, however, and even the speculation of, is it predictive programming? Are they trying to send a signal? When there's so much content like that there's almost a signal that is consistent amongst the many illustrators, and it's that our world is in chaos and we are at the brink. Talk a little bit about intuition, because it's ultimately what is haunting people. It's ultimately what ends up results throughout history and time with some people being burned at the stake because of their gifts and the unfortunate way in which their society treated their gifts. It's happening again. There's risk involved in sharing what one sees. And we can take certain things that happen in the news, for example, when empires are found innocent of war crimes and a subsequent silence from the population, what that number 2 punch, because the first punch is the actual event. The silence from the masses, this doesn't affect us, that's the jaw-breaking move. Okay, like the jab, or the draw, or the move, or the slap, or the poke, those are the events themselves conducted by the world governments. The mega knockout is the silent masses that are busy with some sort of Facebook private message dopamine release. It's not so much now about just blaming it on the media or the mainstream media. It are these individuals that are having these dopamine drug-like relationships with technology, which is, the best way to put it. They're having relationships with this technology, and it's replacing their human relationships. So they are changing. They are becoming programmed, and they're externalizing. Many people are calling others sheeple, joking about a zombie apocalypse, but people walking like nothing's wrong while these other things are taking place, that's a zombie apocalypse. Also, you've seen movies to where it is showing humans in a different light, with a different light frequency, maybe a heat signature. Try to imagine how we really are from another state of perspective, how unsexy, how unevolved we really are. Like in these current bodies, these are hardwired to want to procreate, make more of us, and to procreate with certain types more than other types based on pre-programming that has really nothing to do with our free will. A lot of human sexuality is autopilot. The purpose of propaganda is there to come in and actually interrupt the natural flow of the sexual desires in actual people that are basically deciding what they want to do with their lives in a world free of on the surface level, free of the church, free of the establishment on the surface level. But when it's in a world of state media, and when you look at the metamorphosis of YouTube today, what does YouTube today reflect when you look at the front page? And yes, if you're watching a lot of content from a certain channel, it'll recommend it once in a while. Hey, here's another video from Alex. Here's a new video from Al. Then there's all that other stuff, though, that's like, I don't ever click on this. Why is it pushing it so hard? And from the YouTube algorithm, and I've been explaining this in other videos, then go to another website or another website. There'll be a similar theme. Maybe there's a website with there's free movies. Maybe there'll be a certain theme with the actual time. Not only that, on some of these websites like vudu.com, I'm seeing some of the same actors that haven't been blacklisted. And then you think about like this era that we're in right now where some people are blacklisted with regards to Hollywood based on things they've said, based on things that they've done. There's this punishment reward system. And it doesn't necessarily play out exactly like the mainstream conspiracy theorists say. On the note of this crowd that I used to trust so much, this is the most untrustworthy crowd that can be possibly drawn on a board. Is the modern day self-described woke crowd that has split itself into the left-right paradigm while flaunting its own ego on ways humanity has never seen before. And how the machine can build up a false sense of, wow, I'm really talented. Wow, look at the audience that I built up. They literally can make or break someone with their algorithm just like that. I'm actually in a contemplative state right now because this is a time of seasons transitioning. And so as we become self-aware, the next level, which is really what it means to be in the center of the four circles, to be in the true self, soul, center of the four corners, or of the four stones. Me, myself, as we go into spring, coming out of winter, attempting to have a deeper level of insight, sitting inside the medicine wheel. And in this book that I have, it is getting into, I will be reading some passages from it in another video. I don't think this is the best video for reading. I'm going to go by memory. But you have the North Stone, the East Stone, the West Stone, and the South Stone. I'm jumping around the order, excuse me, but starting with East, then South, then West, then North, and each of these has their own attributes with animal totems, colors. For example, East, yellow, that would be the rise of the sun, and a direct link in consciousness between the human and the sun is involved in this. Okay, what's involved in these Native American teachings is something very similar to something that I've been sharing with you. And I think that once we come to terms with what's taking place on this world, and we come to terms with the elemental forces, we could step away from some of the nightmarish situations that we're seeing in some of these animations. Because the greatest nightmare really is knowing that there are so many humans that have checked out from feeling connected to other humans. This is the type of stuff that follows. And I think that this is ancient knowledge. This is like old experiences that we've seen before. And I think that if you really want to look at the deception of the modern day and age, you really should study the New Age and be able to differentiate between the New Age and ancient spiritual teachings. So Reiki, the symbol that goes counterclockwise, which is Celtic, none of that's New Age. All of that is original spiritual teachings. Now, if people want to label that New Age because their pastor doesn't co-sign that, they're demonizing spiritual teachings and using New Age to diss it or to diss me. Okay, people do it all the time that are stuck in these religious boxes. Now, saying that doesn't mean that you are a part of necessarily the problem if you're a follower of a religion. It's that there are people online that use religion as a sigil to hit people with a baseball bat over their spiritual ideas, call them demons, things of that nature, to seek to belittle them. And this is something that humanity and women also have experienced from multiple civilizations, including this society. This society does not necessarily have clean hands when it comes to real women's rights, nor where the future is going. And so this type of sigil that elements of the West have been holding up, that they're saving the women of Afghanistan or Iraq, the liberals like this one. The right wing, they have their own excuses that they tell themselves for why they maintain a foothold in that region. Sometimes they like to hold on to the women's rights thing themselves, as if they're bringing that as they brush war crimes under the rug. This is a society where the most absurd lies are being told at record high levels. Like this psychosis has reached like this level to where it's just sitting back gasping going, oh shit. And I know that people like to play this through, how they could be personally victimized in a potential collapse, and people should be prepared, but they got to be aware of what's happening right now to others and understand that societies don't stand that go down certain roads. And it was more widely known of the phenomena of the amount of countries and empires that have tried to invade and take over Afghanistan, how many of them have fallen. There's also a number of troops that have had paranormal experiences in Afghanistan, and some of these helicopter crashes and some of these other unexplained phenomena that has taken place may be things that people have no knowledge of. Maybe there are other forces, elemental forces of nature, that are also involved in this. See, when people go and they look on the internet for things that relate to that country or Coast to Coast AM, you're not really going to get very far, other than like literally layers of manufactured ufology. You know, legends of an Indian flying ship. You'll see the same report with no facts reposted 1,000 times, as if there's an agenda to lure people into these honey traps. If they start getting inquisitive, maybe they'll have more interest in Afghani Kush or Bud rather than the actual people from that region. And it goes on and on and on. So, like, we're seeing record levels of the zombification of America. It's happening all around us. And now we're going through a phase to where they want to punish those that actually know something about what's going on, to where now people need to speak in code and not come across as a damn conspiracy theorist like they used to. There's also a big trap as the establishment controls any potential investigation of the president. So if they want to make it seem like they're coming after the president to balkanize the nation to two camps only to control Mueller and the outcome of the investigation, they'll do that just to keep the animals on the animal farm busy. And in the animal farm where everyone's animals, well, everyone's equal, but some are a little bit more equal than others, as they say, paraphrasing loosely with regards to Orwell and Animal Farm. And how does that play out? When we see a world where elements of white America will run around screaming at cops that may not be guilty, right? Screaming, "Stop killing black people!" How do you know that cop actually killed a black guy? And it's like, how many of you scratch their head going, did that person actually deserve that? When there actually is a place to be asking Americans to stop killing Afghans. There actually is a place to stop being silent about others killing Afghans while you sit on your lotus mat, or while you drink your Coca-Cola and eat your Big Mac. And you feel happy that your money was able to buy some food that you were able to eat. What about others that did nothing to you on 9/11, that actually can show you demonstratively that women had rights in the 60s and 70s? These stereotypes have been created to create a subhuman group of people, unfortunately. And I speak to you now on a medium that wants to hold back this message from even reaching minorities. The people that are most affected by even AI, flagging them based on their ethnicity. There must be some sort of a reason why they never find my work. There's the interference from the spiritual planes and the demonic planes that wants to keep us separated and isolated. Then there's the algorithm that likes to keep us separated in our own little channels. Don't some of you find it just a little bit strange, especially when you're being told that you're being replaced by minorities, that minorities don't find my work? That's not to diss you. That's to upgrade your consciousness and go, yeah, that is kind of weird. That is kind of weird. Why are we the only ones here? I mean, you would think then, if there's like just groups of people just like, and all these narratives, are you saying that none of them use YouTube or the internet? I'm saying to you that there are certain issues that do take place, and issues with population, and sometimes too many people being funneled in some of these same areas, and that it's all by design to get us at each other's throats, when the world literally has spaces that aren't being used right now. Is it really necessary for people to be living in supermax cities? And especially when people are already feeling tense, and yeah, I understand things from their perspective. Then they're feeling invaded by immigrants. And there may be people that are displaced because they're just trying to live. But see, it's all by design to create that type of adverse climate. And then they add more gasoline on the fire, and they create ways in which those that may be aware of what's taking place are labeled conspiracy theorists until they find themselves their whole lives suffering bad luck, wondering when is the end going to come. As a result of having gnosis, as a result of having knowledge, right? Like one part of the day is just a big streamline of consciousness. The other part of the day is just spent like observing how many people have been affected by the archonic interference. Knowing that there are deeper reasons why some people don't reach out. Knowing that there is a energetic interference that is not my own creation, but other humans will unfortunately only see it that way. And it is important for those of you that in your own mind think that you're on the spiritual path, that you redetermine your understanding of how karma actually works. Belief systems. Belief systems about people that are bombed back to the Stone Age. Is there a strong belief system that some people have told themselves over the years that it was their karma? Or that somehow they deserve it because of some sort of injustice that they as a collective are perceived to be giving out to another group? Is there some sort of a psychological formula that the people of today's day and age, the modern androids, we're not just talking about the cell phones, that they use to separate themselves from others that are being called off the planet? Let me ask you another question. How would it be if there is a God, and I believe there is a true creator, how would it be just for any society to be allowed to destroy the earth and that which the earth created? How would that be? How would that be respecting the four elements? In the west direction, we have the earth. Okay, and that is associated with the feminine spirit. The father spirit is associated with the sun. This knowledge has been removed from our day and age, and people that recommend that we connect with the natural elements, especially if they dabble in conspiracy content, they will find themselves attacked, or an algorithm that won't know how to have the best of multiple topics. I've had people tell me for years, Alex, no. Your growth is stunted because you're all over the map with these topics. Is there something wrong with not having some sort of a univision? Is there something wrong with Alex Ansari not honing his craft to where I just tell you what you want to hear for your support and your love and or community? Well, I'm not a part of a community, am I? And I'm lucky to have whatever support has come in. And so I'm not going to be disillusioned with telling people what they want to hear is the way to go. Quite the opposite. There was some movement going on in some properties nearby. I hear a large truck. So we have the energies of spring moving things forward. Somebody stopped by the other day. I have a friend who's like family who's going to be visiting in a few weeks. So I'm looking forward to the many videos on VHX that'll be created. Something about spring and May, moving the energy forward. 2019, 2020, this is a historic period in time. And one of the ways that they control us, again, thanks to Larry for setting that video, I don't know if I'm going to go through it slide by slide. Obviously, I talked about concerns that others have had about a meteor and the Earth's magnetic field weakening that would allow more of that through. I mean, clearly, scientifically, we're already on that path. And so one can look at it scientifically, one can look at it karmically, that we're on a path of the Earth's magnetic field getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and that this is accelerating as magnetic north is moving towards Siberia, as we see a number of different possibilities. As I also look in my heart, in my center, and I know what I believe to be the truth. Have these lower spirits and other non-human forms of intelligence are behind our human governments and are behind the widespread marginalization of particular groups. We can even see these forces behind some of the very religions, in some cases, that they're demonized. We can also find truth in some of those religions if we have the ears to hear and eyes to see. We can learn about the jinn from Islam, which is a much more elaborate description of archons or demons and how that spirit world works, that world of shaitan. So, like all things, there is tampering when you have human beings that are publishing books and expanding empires under the name of religion. And in doing so, they actually come against God's creations through their holy wars. All of these people. And I denounce all of these histories of holy wars because that is not the way of the true creator. And so, what I know in my experience, and especially having a YouTube channel and an audience and getting kind of a pulse on where people are at, where people feel safe engaging with me on content, where they don't, I got an honest glimpse, and you know this to be the truth, on where people's value systems are and the type of things and content that frankly turns them off, and how that as a microcosm shows us a snapshot of this fallen world and how things are going to be allowed to go to the next level.